Lucas Panzica's out here. We got Kirby Allen Kirby. Will Bowling scampering around getting practice video. Happy to have you guys in for today's show. We're here with you until 1 o'clock. If you want to jump in on the conversation, we'd love to have you. 615-737-1045 is how you do it. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Titans back on the practice field, day number 7. What'd you do on your players' day off yesterday? You do anything?
Yeah, we had our high school football media night.
Oh, so you worked on your day off.
We worked. It was fun, though. We announced our Week 1 destination for the 104.5 The Zone Game of the Week. We are headed to Gallatin High School August 19th as they host the Mount Juliet Golden Bears.
Spicy. I saw you had a lot of great guests out there at High School Media Night. I saw Trent Dilfer, Lipscomb Academy's head coach in the house, among many other people, players, all kinds of good stuff. And you can go catch that on the YouTube channel, right? You live streamed that, yeah?
We did. We streamed it from the Zone Performance Studio. Puckett's Grocery sponsored it. They fed everybody. Really enjoyed it, covering different classifications, different schools, private and public. We had Trent Dilfer, Lipscomb Academy. Ravenwood was in the house, DCA, Green Hill. So a lot of cool storylines as we kind of formulate the narratives that are going to define the 2022 high school football season. 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks. I think it's the first time we've ever had that on the Zone High School Football Media Day, and Chris Parson and Pitt commit Kenny Minchie.
Okay. Well, you can go check that out on the YouTube channel if you like. In the meantime, Titans are through the open portion of practice, although one-on-one drills currently taking place. We're going to have Randy Bullock, Titans kicker, come sit down with us. No kicking drama whatsoever for Tennessee in training camp. One of the most underrated storylines in all of this is you don't got to sweat who's making your field goal kicks and your extra points in a way that basically for the last 3 seasons, you got a little chest tightness every time the kicker trotted out.
When's the last time that was the case in training camp?
Suck up.
Had to be Suck Up.
Suck Up's last healthy year, so what, 2018?
2018.
Yeah, Ryan Suck Up's last healthy year as a Tennessee Titan. By the way, now Super Bowl champion. He got it right with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He figured it out. So we'll have Randy come sit down. I am bizarrely excited to talk to Randy Bullock. I don't know why I've been so hot. We've had so many great guests sit down to training camp. John Robinson, Amani Hooker. We're going to have many, many more throughout the course of our broadcast here in the next couple of weeks. But I think the one I'm most excited to talk to is Randy. I don't know why. Do you think I'm going to ruin the interview right out the gate?
I'm slightly concerned about what you might ask Randy Bullock.
I want to ask him about the nickname. I want to ask him about the nickname right out the gate.
Okay, like in what context?
I'm just going to be like, are you aware of the nickname? It has a bit of a cult. He's a little bit of a cult hero, Randy Bullock. I mean, there's Fat Randy jerseys running around at Titans games. I think he's into it. So we'll talk to Randy Bullock about that when they wrap up practice today at 11:15. In the meantime, news in the NFL yesterday afternoon. After our show had concluded, the NFL is officially appealing Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. Something that we were aware of was always going to be a possibility. The NFL is still, according to reports, seeking an indefinite suspension for Watson. They want a minimum of a whole season. But I saw some reports come out yesterday talking about the idea that they want at least 12 games because they don't want him trotting out onto the field as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns when they play at Houston in Week 12. They don't want the optics of that. That was being reported on by several different outlets yesterday, and I think it makes a lot of sense because if you can't get Watson for the whole season the way that the league wanted, then you can at least avoid the PR nightmare of having him on the field when he returns back to Houston. You can't let that one go.
Such a cluster. It's such a cluster.
I mean, but we knew it was going to be a mess.
I know, but you've got the NFL appealing Sue Robinson's decision because they want to suspend him for a whole season, which is probably the right thing to do. But then it effectively makes having a neutral joint disciplinary officer between the NFL and NFLPA kind of pointless in the end because if Roger Goodell's just going to make the ruling anyway, then what's the point of this whole process that you instilled to begin with?
Well, and that's the detail in here that's wild. Like they have the independent arbitrator for the NFL's personal conduct hearings, and yet if the NFL wants to appeal, Roger Goodell gets to name the person who hears the appeal. So it's completely neutralized the purpose of the independent arbitrator in the first place.
That's right.
It's crazy. So if Raj decides, yeah, I'd like to hear my own appeal, please and thank you.
Yep.
Full season. Get out of here.
Laid out Watson's team's argument.
What the hell did the NFLPA spend so much time bickering over and fighting over? Make that make sense to me. We talked to Dan Lust about this, the show's attorney at Sports Law Lust is where you can follow him, specifically about the Sue L. Robinson decision in the first place, the 6-game suspension without pay that was handed down. No additional fines. And the way that the Cleveland Browns structured Watson's contract, remember, he will not miss very much of that $230 million guarantee. In fact, Lucas, I'd venture I need to figure out what his per-game salary is, but I would imagine that Deshaun Watson is paying more in legal fees this year than he is in missed NFL game checks.
Easily.
Because you know those lawyers are coming for their piece.
How many settlements at this point?
That would be 23
yeah.
out of a possible 24. So Dan Lust, we asked him about the initial decision by Sue L. Robinson, and Dan gave us about as strong of an opinion from the lawyer standpoint as I've heard on this thing.
So unintentionally, I found myself in somewhat of a hot take situation. I read the opinion, and in my world, I read a lot of decisions. That's what we do as lawyers. We try to figure out, in any one case that we have, we look back towards past precedent and what a judge might have decided or what a particular court or a higher court decided. So you can read any number of decisions. You kind of know where the judge is going, a page or two in, and then you can kind of skip to the bottom and see the conclusion. And then obviously you read the space in between. You read Judge Robinson's decision. Really, the first 2/3 of that opinion seems like she's going to come with the hammer to Watson.
Right.
She finds that the NFL has established their burden to show that Watson engaged in sexual assault with 4 different women, that he posed some degree of harm to these women, and that he made the league look bad from a PR perspective, right? So the NFL has satisfied their burden, yet she goes with a punishment 6 games, which is akin to what a guy like Zeke Elliott got, Ben Roethlisberger, different types of allegations. But I was ready for the hammer, and then I see 6 games, and that was surprising. So
10 seconds.
I think Judge Robinson planned to issue a larger suspension, but then kind of chickened out and kind of, took a little bit of a U-turn for whatever reason. But I read an opinion that looked like it was going towards the hammer and then for whatever reason veered off track.
So that's Dan Lust. What was that on Tuesday when he was on the show with us talking about the initial suspension handed down by the independent arbitrator? When he said that she chickened out, have you watched the YouTube clip back? Because you could see the camera's only looking at me, and I just sat you on the shoulder and pointed my headset like, what the hell did Dan just say?
You what the guy just said?
That's wild.
When he said entering hot take territory, you kind of perk up because he's Dan Lust. He's our legal counsel.
I was about to say, the lawyer doesn't have hot takes.
He's a very buttoned-up guy.
The lawyer's there to protect us from our hot takes.
Exactly. When he said that, I said something good is coming.
Yeah, and certainly that was the opinion of the NFL. I don't think there's any way that they could not appeal this. I mean, you can't tell that big of a portion of your consuming audience, of the audience that consumes your product, to just bleep off.
Yeah,
you really can't. And regardless of whether, because it's funny, I felt for a long time through Bountygate with the Saints and everything that happened with Zeke Elliott and Tom Brady deflated footballs and all these silly things, even the Ray Rice situation going back a few more years. I have wanted to see this kind of a process that they now have put into place. Where Roger Goodell.
It's so ironic.
Where Roger Goodell doesn't get to be, Punisher Supreme in the NFL. And all of a sudden, they botch it.
All right, Raj, go ahead.
And now I'm finding myself in a position where I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Now let Roger.
Go ahead. Do the thing, Raj.
Do the thing. Do the thing. And he can't. I mean, he can. We'll see how it goes. But, I mean, I saw some reporting from both Albert Breer and Charles Robinson of Sports Illustrated and Yahoo Sports, respectively, talking about the idea that the league, in their very, very, very early settlement talks, what would they be willing to eat if they could not get Watson off the field for a full season? And that 12-game mark is what has been repeatedly cited by credible reporters who are covering this story at great length. And I think as far as this is concerned, I would be shocked to see him on the field before Week 13. I think at this point, if the appeal process is going to go the way we think it's going to go, I don't think there's any way that the NFL lets this thing by.
Well, we haven't even talked about the possibility of Deshaun Watson's team in turn suing the NFL and trying to create chaos in this and drag it out all the way up to federal court. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this.
Well, let's get into some of those layers coming up next.
Yeah.
We've got more audio from Dan Lust, more people who have been reporting around this situation, specifically Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, who has been very, very much on the beat of this. We're live out at Titans training camp. Stick around. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Welcome back live from Titans training camp here on 104.5 The Zone. Day number 7 underway. Team drills currently ongoing. A lot of vets with the day off today. I saw no Taylor Lewan 2 days in a row, no practice for Bud Dupree. I have not seen Ben Jones out there participating in team drills either. So we'll talk to Mike Vrabel today at the podium. We'll carry that press conference live, as well as Kevin Byard, who's going to address the media in mayoral fashion, as is the custom. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the show if you like. We're reacting to the news that the NFL is appealing Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. And the details of this were reported very, very thoroughly by Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network yesterday afternoon. With the whole situation coming down, I think the appeal was largely expected. Although I think from my standpoint, I was still kind of surprised to see them do it, if I'm being completely honest with you. Because even if it's just for the sake of optics, like the idea that the NFL
Tom Pelissero
would value the need to appeal this, given the language that Sue L. Robinson had in her opinion after the fact, citing predatory behavior by Deshaun Watson, I thought it might present an easy opportunity for the league to just say, okay, bleep it. The process worked the way that it was collectively bargained to work, and this way we'll be able to get him out on the field for Week 7 at Baltimore. I think it's a Monday Night Football game. I think it's a primetime football game.
Oh, man.
Browns and Ravens. Well, because that would be the whole conversation the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
And, honestly, I'm to the point, Lucas, where I don't think this is bad PR. Like, it's a horrendous situation. It is definitely – it definitely makes you question things about sports fandom from a more morality standpoint. But I don't think that the conversation, increased conversation, even as uncomfortable as it might seem and is, I don't think that it's bad for the NFL.
Well,
I really don't.
The NFL cares a whole lot more about optics than Sue Robinson does. I mean, we talked about the precedent, the idea that Calvin Ridley's missing the whole season for gambling versus Deshaun Watson 6 games for this type of conduct. They're unrelated, right? Because Sue Robinson doesn't look at that as precedent for this. But that doesn't matter in the eyes of the general public. Calvin Ridley is still missing a whole season for betting $1,500, while Deshaun Watson's missing 6 games for allegedly sexually assaulting a couple dozen
But
women.
it's not alleged anymore. Sue L. Robinson said in 5 cases that, he did it.
Yeah, no, she did.
He did it.
She absolutely
Just
did.
because the legal process did not find him outright guilty of anything.
Yeah.
Sue L. Robinson, in her opinion, said, yes, this behavior took place based on the information that was provided.
She went above and beyond, right? Said he didn't show any remorse. It's the most egregious conduct ever presented before the NFL. I mean, it is a scathing opinion by Sue Robinson. But again, she was looking at precedent for this type of what she considers nonviolent sexual conduct, despite the fact that this sort of conduct is unprecedented in the history of the NFL. But the general public doesn't care. They only care that Calvin Ridley is missing a whole year for gambling $1,500, and that seems to be more important to the league than what Deshaun Watson did to over 24 massage therapists.
Do you think it was made better or worse by the statement from Dee and Jimmy Haslam that the Browns put out?
Oh, so much worse.
Which was just grotesque. I mean, just like the lack of self-awareness. And it's not just like occasionally. It is each and every time that they fail to be competent as ownership. I mean, it really is shocking. This is why bad teams like the Browns stay bad, because the people running the show, the people who own the franchise, they're incompetent, utterly incompetent. And it blows my mind. It can derail an NFL club so quickly when the people who have direct impact on everything that the club does day to day, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And that's what it feels like with the Cleveland Browns. That statement throughout, and I'll read from it, throughout this process, Deshaun and his representatives have abided by the newly created and agreed upon process for the NFLPA and the NFL to defer to the objective Judge Sue L. Robinson to comprehensively review all information and make a fair decision. We respect Judge Robinson's decision and at the same time empathize and understand that there have been many individuals triggered throughout this process. Triggered. You can't. I had parenthetically like bleep you. Honestly, like I would say much worse words if I wasn't on FCC Safe Radio at this point. Like bleep you.
Triggered. You can't make it up. The idea of talking about Deshaun Watson being remorseful for how this is affecting people.
But I haven't even gotten to that yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Please continue.
I haven't even gotten to that.
I apologize. Yet. Please continue.
We know Deshaun is remorseful. Again, I add parenthetically, there has been zero evidence to that effect. He said that he did not feel like he did anything wrong, and he apologized for making people feel a certain kind of way while accepting zero responsibility. So no accountability yet, as outlined by the Browns statement. We know Deshaun is remorseful, that this situation has caused much heartache to many, and he will continue the work needed to show he is on and off the field, who he is on and off the field, and we will continue to support him. A statement from D and Jimmy Haslam.
Like Sue Robinson did not have to say that Deshaun Watson acted without remorse.
Buddy, it's like a bad Saturday Night Live skit, this whole Brown situation.
Yeah.
Like you can't make up how poorly they have handled this from start to finish, and they're going to end up getting what they want, which is Deshaun Watson throwing touchdown passes for the Cleveland Browns, likely, week 13, depending on how this appeal process goes. But let's hear on the details of the appeal from Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, who was doing great reporting on this on television yesterday.
Judy, Tom, the NFL has announced that they will appeal Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Tom, I'm going to start with you. Why did the league finally decide to appeal? They did have until this morning to do so.
Well, first of all, Jamie, the NFL has that right under the collective bargaining agreement to appeal, as the NFLPA does, any suspension for a player under the new disciplinary policy that was implemented back in 2020. So the NFL did officially file that appeal on Wednesday, and once again is now seeking indefinite banishment of at least 1 year with the possibility of conditional reinstatement in 2023 for Deshaun Watson. The NFLPA has 2 days to respond to that brief. Roger Goodell can appoint himself or someone else to hear the appeal.
Yeah, sorry, I pushed the wrong button. Mics are down. Let me know when you want me to pull the audio down.
Okay, buddy. Just tell me when you turn the mic down while we're playing audio so I know.
Okay, that's my fault.
Thank you. No, it's all right.
With this new timeline that the union and the league could revisit settlement talks, there have been discussions going all the way back to the 3-day hearing in early July. The NFL, though, was unwilling to come down from a substantial number of games on top of a significant fine for Deshaun Watson, which
Buck, I played golf with him like 2 months ago.
Which one?
For any settlement.
Brett Kern.
He's really good.
It was a lot of fun.
Remember when
you should bring that up if he
would
Brett's,
go back and
Brett's my day
that
one.
in Judge Robinson's brief, she said that the NFL had proved its case that violated the personal conduct policy in 3 different ways. Most importantly, she said that by the NFL's own.
There's like 2:45 left in this video. Do you want to pull it down?
No, keep it going.
Assault.
Okay.
Games was just never going to cut it.
Certainly
not in the court of public opinion.
Are you going to want the other Lust audio after this?
Yeah, depending on how much time we have.
Hello to our friends on the live stream.
Precedent really applies to this, and in her brief, the judge herself said egregious behavior, predatory behavior. So they felt that no precedent that she was relying on really applies to this case.
Lucas, is that audio high enough?
I guess to what we've seen.
Okay.
That is why they want to revisit it, and as Tom said, they have the right in the CBA to appeal it, just as the NFLPA has the right to appeal it.
Judy, Tom, you both have been all over this story. With all that's developed in the last 24 hours, Judy, we'll start with you. Is there a chance that Deshaun Watson could actually be on the field week 1 as this whole process takes out?
Yes, there is a chance. This is tricky, and it's an element of unknown because this is the first time we're going through this with this new policy. But yes, the expectation is that if the NFL increases this,
150 left,
that the Players Association will go to federal court.
After she wraps up this answer, you can fade it down.
Okay.
Temporary restraining order. And now the question is, if they got a temporary restraining order, when would it kick in? We've seen in past cases, Ezekiel Elliott, Tom Brady, that a temporary restraining order allowed the player to play, to be on the field while everything was playing out in court. But that might not be the case here because we already know there's going to be at least a 6-game suspension. And so the question is, would a temporary restraining order start immediately and get him off the field for week 1? or would he be allowed? When would that restraining order kick in? It's a little bit murky. There's unknowns for both the PA and the league here because, again, this is the first time anybody has been through this.
So that is courtesy of the NFL Network talking about the idea, could Deshaun Watson be on the field in week 1 as the appeal process goes along? And
Against Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers.
which, by the way, I mean, you could not write a better script for all of this nonsense.
Lost audio is ready.
I mean, is it horrible to say that the NFL would low-key – I mean, think about the attention around
Would want
that
him on
game
the field? Yeah.
for that week 1 matchup.
There's a drastic difference between the interest level in Browns-Panthers week 1 if you're starting Jacoby Brissett or if Deshaun Watson is out on the field. For rightly or wrongly, people are going to be attracted to that as a television product just to see the spectacle. It's TMZ-ish stuff that you're trafficking in now, but football leans into that. Jerry Jones has been saying for years there's no such thing as bad PR. And everybody, as long as people keep talking about the NFL and it keeps occupying all of this space in the sports landscape, I mean, why would it change? All that means is more interest level, more conversation around your sport, and that's what you're trying for at the end of the day. The NBA's out here having to contractually negotiate paid programming with ESPN in their television deals. Like that NBA Today show, that's just there as an infomercial for the league, which is basically all any of this is, whether it's our show, all 12 hours of programming that we have a day, everything that's on sports television, like it's all just an infomercial to get you to the game, to get you to the product. And that's the kind of thing that the NFL is going to have to make a decision on, whether they are good with that as an appearance or whether they're prepared to actually take a moral stand on something like the Deshaun Watson situation. I asked Dan Lust if he expected the league to appeal on Tuesday when he was on the show, and this is what he had to say.
This is not the decision that is going to decide Deshaun Watson's fate.
Right.
It's really what comes between now and Thursday, and that's the NFL's deadline to file an appeal. And in our normal courts, if someone is making a decision whether to appeal or not, the question is really whether they're going to win on appeal. And there's different standards depending on when you're appealing. But here, the NFL is not deciding whether to appeal because they're not sure if they're going to win, because they are appealing this decision to themselves. They're appealing it to Roger Goodell. So if they appeal, they know they'll win, and they can up the suspension. Roger Goodell can up it to a number he feels is appropriate. They're really deciding
10 seconds.
They are to appeal to themselves and to basically give themselves a win, right? It's like that Obama meme.
I think the description probably would have been apt rather than just cutting Dan off at the Obama meme thing, but I think most people can see in their mind's eye what he's talking about. So the NFLPA, by the way, has until, I believe, Tuesday of next week. I believe it's an additional 3 business days to then counter-sue the NFL, which, of course, would not take place in an appeal situation. It would be in federal court, the way that Tom Brady has taken the league to federal court, the way that Zeke Elliott took the league to federal court. Both, worth noting, lost those appeals in federal court, lost those countersuits in federal. Well, actually, Zeke won his and ended up serving his suspension anyway.
Yeah, Zeke won.
I wish I remembered the details on that as to why that was the case for Ezekiel.
It was similar in that it was a murky situation legally where he wasn't found guilty of anything legally, but the NFL found him guilty of the domestic assault situation. So there's a few parallels there.
Yeah. So we will keep you updated on this as it goes along. You're welcome to jump in and react to the decision by the NFL to appeal Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. 615-737-1045 is the number. We got Paxton on the line, wants to talk about Deshaun. Go ahead, Paxton.
Hey, bro. Thanks for taking my call. Lucas, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Paxton.
So, listen, man, let's be honest about this thing, okay? The NFL only cares about one thing, and that's revenue. That's green, that's dead presidents, however you want to say it. That's all they care about. So this whole 6-game suspension thing, okay, that was an egregious error by this judge. We all can agree on that. But the NFL appealing it does 2 things for them. It gives them the appeal of that they actually care about humanity and actually cares about women's rights and things like that. And then the second thing is that, from my standpoint, it looks like they just really, really, truly, the alternate thing is that
Right.
they want to appeal to the game of football. We all are going to watch Deshaun Watson if they play week 1, and we know that they're going to play Baker Mayfield, and we know that that's going to be a big revenue gain for them. So I'm tired of the NFL with the money grab, guys. They don't care about it. And it's the truth.
Yeah, but
We want to make it about football, but it's not. It's about money. So I'll hang up and listen before the Oscar music comes on. But that's just that's my take on it, guys, and I'll let you talk about it. Thank you.
That's what they're supposed to do, though. Like, I get what he's saying. Like, you can be tired of it, because I too get tired of it. But also, they are not in the morality business. That's why I was shocked when Roger Goodell, back in the Ray Rice situation, wanted to take on trying to legislate in the NFL domestic violence when the United States judicial system does not legislate it particularly well or efficiently. Like, there's so many different blind spots for the league. They're not in the morality business. They're in the football business, and by nature of how popular America's #1 sport is, they're in the money-making business. Like, to expect the NFL to have any kind of morality otherwise outside of, putting easy things that are very, very easy to say in the end zone with all of the backlash that they received after the amount of players came together, demanded an apology from the league, and Roger Goodell had to get in front of a camera and say, yeah, we botched the Colin Kaepernick situation. And so what do you get in the meantime? We'll put end racism in the end zone and we'll call it a day, right? And the NFL feels that checks some kind of moral obligatory box, when of course that's not any real action other than physically doing something that people can take pictures of and say, yes, the NFL has actually done something, when in reality it's just words.
Yeah, it's reality, which is a tough pill to swallow. It's like the college football thing, right? The way that it's being run right now, with everything having to do with TV money, where the people making the decisions at the top don't exactly have the priorities that the college football fan would have, who actually cares about the sport and what makes it great. So it's just reality, and it's a tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is.
We have some breaking news that's really, really unfortunate. I've just gotten notifications from the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. Brittney Griner has been sentenced to 9 years in a Russian prison on a drug conviction. The U.S. has been seeking the WNBA star's release. 9 years is the sentence from a Russian court in the case of Brittney Griner. I can't even imagine how that's being processed by her family. We'll get you more details on this. I've just seen the news story come up here on my phone. We're live from Titans training camp. We'll continue the conversation. We're going to talk Titans football here in just a little bit, but let's get to this story on the other side. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Listen.
this evening.
You watching it?
Am I going to watch it? Yeah, because this is what I do for a living. If I don't watch the Hall of Fame game, it's a situation that it's just I'm gonna complain about preseason football at some point.
You don't have to watch it.
I mean, I don't have to watch it, but since it's the Jags, I feel some kind of sick obligation.
Who's the Jags backup?
Oh, it's a great question.
I have no idea.
Because it's not Gardner Minshew anymore. He's in Philadelphia. Who is the Jags' backup quarterback? Quickly, use the internet since it's the entirety of it is at your disposal. I have no earth because Trevor Lawrence is obviously not playing in the Hall of Fame.
C.J. Beathard.
No. Actually,
right.
I do think I know that.
No, he will not play against the Raiders because he suffered a groin injury in camp. So Jake Luton?
Jake Luton. Yeah, Jake Luton started a game for an NFL team recently. I want to say it was the Dallas Cowboys. You may fact check me on that. No?
Did not play for the Cowboys.
Did he start a game for the Jags?
Yeah, 3 games for the Jags in 2020. You don't have to watch Jake Luton play quarterback tonight if you don't want to.
Because he's likely not going to be on the roster unless the injury to C.J. Beathard is of great consequence. But perhaps I'll it's going to be in the middle of prime time anyway. I think the game starts at 7 o'clock this evening, 7 Central Time. So I'll probably I'm going to be doing prime time. I'll probably do the prime time show at halftime of the Hall of Fame game. And what the hell else am I going to talk about?
Yeah, I don't know if Derek Carr is playing. I have not seen news that he is being held out. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be interesting from that perspective.
What a bleep you from Josh McDaniels if he makes Derek Carr go out and play. Because that means they have 4 preseason games. The Hall of Fame game participants always play. That's an additional preseason game. With the 3 that each team has to participate in.
Yeah. ETN also not playing tonight for the Jags.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like. We really haven't talked a lot. We talked a little bit about the Jags. At some point, Cosell and myself, we did a breakdown of how that offense is going to get better with Doug Peterson. Just as anybody but creepy Uncle Herb. Anybody but creepy Uncle Herb, who I'm going to miss dearly when we have downtimes in Sports Talk Radio. And you can't go to an Urban Meyer story happening in Week 4 that is going to cause great strife. But, yes, Hall of Fame game tonight, Titans' first preseason game at Baltimore. Of course, I will be there, and I will look forward to providing coverage for you guys back here in Nashville or wherever you're listening to the radio show today.
Derek in the Zone TV chat. Carr versus Luton, must-see TV.
Listen, if Derek Carr plays, I'll watch.
Yeah, I will too.
If they put Devontae Adams on the field, everybody should be fired. But outside of that, if there are starting NFL caliber players in there, if there are players for the Jags defense, starting players for the Jags defense that I'm not very familiar with, or new acquisitions and free agents, they got a lot of draft picks on that side of the ball. I'm probably going to end up watching the whole thing.
Yeah, Christian Kirk.
Oh, what a nice breakup. The Titans doing red zone drills right now out here on the practice field where our visibility is affected by many, many large bodies and white jerseys. The offense is the sideline is populated. Trey Avery with the breakup there. Is that the number that you're pointing to?
Undrafted free agent out of Rutgers.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the Titans' corner depth that they have, given that Christian Fulton was on the radio show on Tuesday, and don't forget Randy Bullock. I'm lobbying for a special teams coup here at 11:15 after practice wraps up. I can't confirm specifically that Randy will have additional parties that will be coming over and doing the radio show with him, but perhaps we will see how this thing develops throughout the course of the day. And of course, we'll have to ask him how his drama-free camp has been. Ryan Tannehill needing to throw that away in the back of the end zone. Wants to run the play again as we watch red zone drills out here for the Titans offense. I was talking to some people with the team yesterday, or rather before practice started this morning, and for the most part, I haven't seen consecutive bad days from any given unit. There will be days when the quarterbacks look sloppier in the red zone drills than they did the day previous, as was the case, I believe, Monday and Tuesday. But, you haven't seen these back-to-back bad performances by any one unit on the Titans roster where you say, okay, that's a place where you could identify an issue that they're going to have to correct.
But I feel like there's individuals you could potentially say that about.
individuals that you could say what about?
Have stacked a couple of bad days.
Who would you nominate?
Well, I just watched Kenneth George get mossed by Nick Westbrook-Akina in the corner of the end zone in 7-on-7.
Why'd you do that to Kenneth George?
I'm just stating the facts.
You're supposed to be allies, VFLs, balls for life. You're going to take Kenneth George out that way? Shameful, really, by you. But, yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard for me, though, to evaluate the defensive backs in certain drills because it's so skewed to the offense.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do in a one-on-one drill if you're beaten, but you're trying to do your best to keep up with Nick Westbrook-Akina, who has longer legs than just about anybody out here not named Derrick Henry. So he's got the advantage of stride length on you, and then all of a sudden you just have to fly up in the air and try to defense the pass at the last second, only to commit a penalty because you have no safety help. There's nobody out there with you. It's just a one-on-one drill. Because I've gotten a lot of questions about that, as a matter of fact. When we put the one-on-one videos out on social media, gotten a lot of Titans fans who have asked us about, are the wide receivers that good, or are the DBs just getting burned that way? And you have to say, well, it's not. Yes, it's better to see the wide receivers and the tight ends, the skill position players, catching the ball with great consistency. And I think for the most part they've done that.
Yeah.
But when you try to make it an indictment of the DBs, I think that's where you kind of get into some gray area that really people aren't going to be able to visualize for themselves until they take the field for the first time against Baltimore. TJ Quinn at ESPN. By the way, the news story that we had before break, Brittney Griner's trial officially over in Russia. The judge expected to issue her verdict and sentence within the next few hours. Prosecutors asked for 9.5 years. She received a 9-year sentence from a Russian court. TJ Quinn's doing some reporting on this and says, crucial to note, whatever Griner's verdict, whether it's a year or 10, it's a formality. The length of her detention will be decided by how long it takes for Russia and the U.S. to strike a deal. The end of the trial means negotiations should accelerate. And that's kind of the thing that we talked about earlier. It's unfortunate that a human life that way, several for the prisoners, the United States citizens, Brittney Griner, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the other person, the other American citizen that the U.S. is currently in negotiations for with a Russian prisoner that the United States has detained, trying to find common ground there. It's horrendous when you have a situation like this where human life is basically a chess piece. And that's what it feels like has been the case between the Russian government. And listen, the United States government's not faultless in any of this. Obviously, what Russia is doing globally is horrendous and all manner of human rights violations across the board. But this is the dirty part of it. It just happened to touch the sports world, but this is the dirty part of global politics. These kind of things, these kind of deals that get done. And Brittney Griner finds herself caught up really in an unfortunate one. A practice update. Jamarco Jones limped to the locker room, limped inside with a trainer at this point. Worth noting, as we mentioned earlier, Taylor Lewan not out on the practice field today. Have not seen Ben Jones, Bud Dupree, who would make 2 days in a row of no practice. And at this point, I have not seen Elijah Molden to this point yet either. So something to keep an eye on as we look at these various Titans position groups. Practice is getting ready to wrap up here on the field at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We will be talking about the special teams group and how much conversation there's not been around special teams this year. A discussion worth having simply because there has been no previous discussion. We'll be joined by Randy Bullock after practice. So
as he just nailed a field goal.
Yeah, look at Randy. What are you, Will? Will Bowling is approaching the desk right now after the team session has just broken out. Are you not tracking Randy Bullock field goals for us? I want a full chart tweeted out on Twitter after this session concludes.
I can't say that I am charting every single one.
Okay.
It's not really as much of a need anymore.
Well, it is a need for me today because I'm talking to the kicker. Who makes his field goal there. I can't tell the yardage quite yet.
He's been quietly really good. He's on the 8-yard line right now, or was for that last kick. But, he's been 8 for 8 most times that we've seen him out here, maybe 7 for 8 a couple of times on the longest field goals. But I'm telling you, this has not been as big of a entertainment value practice period as much as it used to be when kickers were putting it in Lake Amulet, far beyond the goalposts. And I mean that in a bad way, not in a it was over the net so much that it was in the lake.
It's not Jacksonville camp.
Wait, no, Jacksonville kickers are out here allegedly nailing people who are there to view practice. Coaches, you need to go out to Jags practice with a hard hat, apparently, with the kicking situation. And because their previous kicker, Josh Lambo, is suing them because his former head coach kicked him.
A different
think the
kind
Titans
of bad
had kicking issues?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You think you got kicking issues, buddy? Let me tell you. Just look to your neighbors to the south. This is always the case in Florida. It's a bit of a bleep show. Anyway, we will. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel, Kevin Byard. They're going to be at the podium, and we'll carry those press conferences live. Titans training camp coverage continues right here on 104.5 The Zone.
You're live.
Second down, if I can steal somebody's line back behind the scenes. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone, live from Titans training camp. We got Will Bowling. We got Lucas Panzica. We got Moses out here supervising things. Kirby Allen Kirby has absconded in a cloud of cigarette smoke.
Yeah, Moses, you are our engineer now. Did you know this?
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, Lucas, that he doesn't have a headset on for you to ask him questions that the radio audience can't hear.
He is sauntering off.
Exceptional production work by you. Thank you for all of your great efforts. Randy Bullock is going to come over, Titans kicker, after practice concludes. Titans currently in, looks like a special teams period right now. Randy, I didn't see him miss a kick today. I did not see him miss a kick, so we'll chop it up with Randall Bullock here in just a minute. If you want to jump in on the conversation, you are welcome to do so. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045 is how you do it. So, as we get ready to talk about what the Titans have done today at practice, I think that you've got to hone in on the lack of drama around the special teams unit. We'll have time to talk about punt return and kick return and things of that nature, but as we look here today, the thing that has caused Titans fans the most strife at any given point, the thing that makes your chest tight the most when you're seeing a player trot out onto the field, it's been the kicker. It's basically been the kicker since 2018, since Ryan Succop's last healthy season, and any number of players at that position have been cycled in and out. The year they made the AFC Championship game, let's see if you remember this number. The year they made the AFC Championship game and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Do you remember what their field goal percentage was the year that they advanced the furthest in the playoffs under Mike Vrabel?
Greg Joseph was the kicker during the playoff run. He only attempted one field goal.
And it was against the Chiefs.
Against the Chiefs. And
last game of the season.
Right, he made it because the Titans had a 10-0 lead in that game. It was very high because they were so good in the red zone. I'm going to say 95.
The field goal percentage?
Yes.
44.4%.
I was going to say.
Wait, in 2019?
I thought it was 47. Yeah.
44.4%.
You're talking about the playoff run?
44.4%.
Oh, the whole season.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you think I was doing?
That went very poorly.
For you, yes, most certainly it went poorly. Yes, that was the Titans' field goal percentage the year that they made it to the AFC Championship game. And it was kind of in flux in 2020, still cycling through a fair amount of kickers. And then ultimately in 2021, they had, I'm blanking on my guy's name, Sam Ficken. Sam Ficken, who sustained a training camp injury. And then, he vanished into the same cloud of cigarette smoke that Kirby Allen Kirby did earlier. We have not seen Sam Ficken reemerge, but Randy Bullock coming in and has been a stabilizing force for the Titans special teams group and has performed optimally in certain spots. Now, there's an area of his kicking game that they have been working on, and it was something that we talked to special teams coach Craig Aukerman about during mandatory minicamp. Craig Aukerman described something called the money zone, and that was the area of focus specifically that they were honing in with Randy. Let's hear from the Titans special teams coach when we spoke to him about 2 months ago.
Love Randy. Randy had a consistent season for us last season, and I know he's going to strive to get better. And our players really like Randy. He's one of those guys that's going to run out there and go and try to make all of his kicks, but our players enjoy him. I know Brett and Morgan have a really good relationship with him, so I was excited to get him back.
Where specifically does he need to get better as, looking ahead to the next season?
Yeah, we're always looking to get better at a range from 40 to 49 yards. That's where we call our money zone. If we can be consistent making field goals in that zone, we feel like he can have a pretty good season. 50 plus, we want to make those kicks too, but really the money zone is from 40 to 49 yards, so we really put a focus on that in the offseason.
So the money zone between 40 and 49 yards for Randy Bullock to make his kicks. That's the area that they were mostly focused, that they've been focused on with him so far. So they attempted 17 field goals between 40 and 49 yards last year. They made 12. Randy was 1 of 1 inside the 20. From 20 to 29, he was 7 of 7. From 30 to 39, he was 5 of 5. From 40 to 49, 12 of 17, and then he made 1 of his 5 attempts from 50-plus yards last year. So that once it gets beyond 50, I know it's become, more routine for kickers who are becoming just like they're evolving just as much as any other athlete out on the field, where Justin Tucker is one of the most valuable players on the Baltimore Ravens, and I think the Steelers just signed their kicker to an extension.
Chris Boswell, now co-highest paid kicker in the league alongside Tucker.
Well, and you got to think about the divisions that they're in, because the premium is placed on points in the AFC North, right? You got all kinds of wretched win conditions when you're working in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. You need consistency at that spot. So paying those players worth their value or a higher value than you might otherwise around the league, or finding them less disposable than you might otherwise around the league. That's the case for teams that play in inclement weather. Now, the Titans obviously play outdoors, something to keep in mind for all of this, which theoretically would be negated in a new stadium that it sounds like is going to get stalled up a little bit based on some of the reports I've been reading. But we can talk about that another day. Robert Woods.
Big collision there.
Well, it's because his helmet, somebody hit him in a helmet with a shoulder pad.
Got a little hurry up going here.
I mean, he got back up. So, yeah, Titans doing full field hurry up offense drills right now in front of us. Robert Woods was the player who caught the pass and then summarily caught the shoulder pad to the helmet, popped right up. And on the next play, a completion out to the left. I did not see the receiver.
Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Looked like Nick Westbrook-Akina, and so it was. So in thinking about this, and we'll see how the hurry-up offense sets up for the special teams unit, because that is also a portion of these drills, as Ryan Tannehill checks down a pass to Dontrell Hilliard for a gain of, it looked about 6 there. I think that the thing that I'm kind of curious about most when it comes to special teams groups is Brett Kern in a legitimate competition. Is Brett Kern the elder statesman of this roster? Is his job in legitimate jeopardy? Because it's not like Brett was bad last year. I mean, I think it was below what he wants his standard to be. But I think for the purposes of the punting situation, it's as real as it's ever been. And that's something that I think people hearing that for the first time may be like, well, of course, that's ridiculous. Brett Kern's job should never be in danger. And it's not that it's outright in danger. It's just that he's in a legitimate competition with the undrafted rookie free agent punter
Ryan Stonehouse out of Colorado State,
wearing the number 4 at this point. He's got some ginger flow. Ryan Stonehouse does too. I'm looking at him instead of the team drills right now. But Ryan Tannehill rolling out to his left on a drop back. Hits Dontrell Hilliard. No, I'm sorry.
Jordan Wilkins.
Jordan Wilkins. Yeah. You think we
play-by-play chops.
You think we would have learned? Based on our poor visibility conditions with all of the players lined up in front of us from trying to do practice play-by-play. But it's still worth a shot. You want to try it?
Yeah, let's give it a shot here.
Right,
Tannehill,
flex the muscle.
Alone in the backfield, in the gun, claps his hands, barks out the hard count, takes the snap. 3-step drop for Tannehill, looking, zips a pass left flat, caught, toe-tapped on the sideline and pushed out of bounds is Racey McMath. That'll move the chains, a 10-yard gain.
Oh, look at that. That was clean. Did you feel good about that?
I did feel good.
Well,
Who pushed that? Who pushed him out there?
I didn't see who pushed him out.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Okay.
Tommy Hudson's a big guy.
Let's not get crazy. You nailed the offensive play. Let's keep it moving. Tommy Hudson, a big guy. Yes, indeed. Looking at the special teams group, though, Kyle Phillips seems to be in a good position to give this team some returnability.
Deep ball, left sideline, back in the end zone, hauled in, touchdown Titans. Racey McMath, how about that? Two scores on Tuesday going deep, and he does it again on this Thursday.
Look at that, Brett in the background with some applause back in the studio. It feels like a real a whole broadcast out here that we're doing. Racey's been nice, man, and that factors into the special team situation as well, because if they end up keeping 3 quarterbacks on the roster, it's going to get kind of messy as far as where you start to do the numbers elsewhere. And whatever development Racey McMath shows as an offensive player on top of his special teams ability is going to give him an edge in making the final roster. Now, there's no telling. It's foolish to do the roster predictions as so early on. Like before the preseason, there will be 3 levels of cuts coming throughout the course of the month of August. And so to do the roster projections at this point doesn't account for injuries that may happen, all number of different things that can change literally by the play. But, I mean, if you keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster, as it is likely today that they would do, wide receiver is one where you're going to have to get a little smarter with how you play that, because you can't keep 6 or 7 if they don't have above-average special teams ability. If you're not seeing a bunch of Nick Westbrook-Akina, probably not going to play that much special teams anymore. That's somebody who's been a key contributor for you in that phase of the game, who kind of assumes that role where he can fill in spot parts on offense, but also is going to be a consistent special team contributor. Can Racey McMath embrace that role? Can somebody like Des Fitzpatrick kind of carve that out for himself? And I think that's kind of the thing that you're looking for right now. The situation for special teams last year, you had some comments throughout the course of the regular season about situations really about the money zone, like we talked about, with between 40 and 49 yards, and just as far as the consistency of the punting is concerned, and really the blocking in front of the punting, because if you're getting pushed up front, obviously that's going to affect the player who has to make the kick, which of course has been the MVP punter, Brett Kern. They're moving further away from us. I don't think
Des Fitzpatrick with a zipped pass 5-yard touchdown to Ryan Tannehill's left. By the way, as you were saying that, thank you, Brett. I thought I saw this.
He's getting cute.
I thought I saw this peering between a couple of massive bodies as Jeff Swaim and Tommy Hudson are standing on the near sideline here in front of us. I thought I saw it, but now it's been confirmed. As Teron Davenport has tweeted 2 minutes ago, Ryan Tannehill's interception streak comes to an end.
Oh, the first Tannehill interception of camp.
Guess who?
Who?
Guess who?
Caleb Farley.
No.
Roger McCreary.
One of the usual suspects. Kevin Byard.
Okay.
And Ryan Tannehill's interception streak was intended for Austin Hooper on a seam route.
Hey,
and
you know what? We were talking to Pat O'Hara, the quarterback's coach, about that. Teron asked a question about Tannehill not throwing interceptions in camp, and Pat looked at him and said, "Don't you jinx me, Teron."
Oh, well, that's
you
what
better
happened.
knock on some wood.
Well, and it seemed like it was a miscommunication, according to the ones that did have a good view of it.
KB,
Malik Willis now lining up.
Teron's walking closer to the radio setup. I think that we might violate some contractual situations if we ask him about it on the air. But anyway, practice getting ready to wrap up here in the next few minutes. They're currently running a team drill with Malik Willis right now. We'll take a quick break. We'll discuss the Titans secondary group before Randy Bullock joins us over at our broadcast setup. Live from Titans training camp. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Everybody said it couldn't happen, and it happened. Overcoming their own mistakes and finding.
This is Bullock from Seattle last year.
And beat Seattle in Seattle.
All right, in 3, 2, you're up.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go to springhillac.com, and that was Randy Bullock's game-winning kick against the Seattle Seahawks in, I believe, Week 2 of the 2021 season at Lumen Field. 7 of 7 today, connected from 26, 35, 41, 42, 45, 47, and 33. That is according to A to Z Sports. And Randy Bullock is getting set to sit down with the Buck Rising Show live from Titans training camp in just a few minutes.
Welcome back. Well done, bud. Did you have to open the show by yourself?
Yes, you got a show to do.
You did a great job. I'm here. Relax. Everybody take 10 deep breaths or 20 short ones, whatever makes you happy.
I'm always relaxed.
I know. Will Bowling is here with us. Practice observations. Do you have any, bud?
I do, and I'll be honest with you. I was ready to come over here and say this was Malik Willis's best day at Titans training camp. Completed all 4 of his throws in red zone 7-on-7 periods, and then he was thrown into the fire of no huddle at the end of practice with 11-on-11.
Certainly.
And was not good. Probably made, I believe, 10 or 11 throws. 3 of them were on time and on target. A lot of his throws in 7-on-7, it's easy to forget that those are sacks. He's rolling out. He's not going to his first read. Things are just being processed a little bit more slowly than they need to be at this point. But did not have a great end to practice and showed a little bit of frustration, missing on some of his targets, not getting the ball out in time. Ryan Tannehill as well today throws his first interception of Titans training camp. Looked to be a little bit of miscommunication with Austin Hooper. He thought Hooper was staying on a stick route at the sticks. This was also in 2 minutes, just a couple of minutes ago. Kevin Byard comes up as kind of that robber, steps right in front of him, jumps up, makes the pick, and chaos will ensue on the Twitterverse and the radio airwaves and television airwaves across Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah,
Did you see? I want to know. Did you see Malik Willis pull the Marcus Mariota and have the tip pass to himself? I didn't imagine that.
It was not ideal because obviously pulling a Marcus Mariota is acceptable when the pylon is right there and you're not in a 2-minute drill. So catching your own pass at the 40-yard line in between the hash marks on a second down, not completely ideal in 2 minutes when you've got about 1:55 left in the game at that point.
Yeah, and it sounds like worth yeah, we're on air right now, Mac. Coach Mac has just wandered over to the setup now here on 104.5 The Zone. And Randy Bullock, Titans kicker, is getting ready to sit down after Coach Mac shakes some hands, kiss some babies out here at Titans training camp practice. A good day, it would seem, for the special teams unit. It's been very, very non-dramatic so far. Randy, what's up, stud?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I appreciate you sitting down. This has been the least dramatic special teams training camp I can remember in like 4 years for this team. Do you feel comfortable? Are you at ease now since you've been with this squad for a little while?
Yeah, I feel great. I feel really comfortable with with Brett and Morgan. Obviously with Auk and Chase, we've got a really good relationship. We have fun, we work hard, and we do what we need to do.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm intimately familiar with Kern and how that operation goes throughout the course of a special teams practice. But for you, man, it seems like throughout the course of your career, you've landed consistently in spots. But it seems for this franchise in particular, you've been a stabilizing force in ways that they have needed in quite some time. Now, I know it's uncomfy to talk about yourself in that kind of a way, but I think that has real consequence, and I think that is something that your teammates really seem to appreciate about having you in the building.
Yeah, I think it's been great. Obviously last year was pretty crazy. I came in, I was here for about 3 days, worked a little bit with Brett and Morgan, then Brett went down and then got sick, and we were kind of shuffling holders in and out a little bit, and to have that stability in that off season for us to all work together, even bringing Ryan in also, getting some work with him as well. It's been great for us confidence-wise, and it's carried over into the team periods and everything like that.
So with the improvement year over year, anytime we ask Vrabel about how do you kind of correct the mistakes from last year, it's always we're moving on, we're in a new season, and understandably so. That's the way that's the approach that you have to have. But for you specifically, when you kind of looked at last year's performance and you saw where you felt your best or where you were most accurate, is there a specific area of improvement for you year over year that you're looking for?
I think it's just overall consistency. That's kind of the name of the game for a specialist. The distance doesn't really matter. Your job is to go out there and put points on the board every time you step on the field. These games are close. The majority of the games are one score, and that's just the reality of the business.
Titans kicker Randy Bullock hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Training camp day number 7 for us. I guess day number 8 for you guys with the conditioning test. Just wrapped up today. So we talked to Auk about the money zone and where you guys are kind of working 40 and 49. You were hugely consistent across the board, but that seemed to be the place where they were looking for a little bit of improvement. I guess is that just simply reps from that range that you're working on right now, or what are the kind of the coaching points there?
I think fundamentals also. It's not as much the distance of the kick; it's just being able to replicate your swing and do that consistently regardless of the depth of the kick.
All right, so I'm sure you realize that you've turned into a bit of a cult hero among Titans fans. Like they love them some Randy Bullock. Is that something you're cognizant of?
Not really. I mean, I just enjoy being here in Nashville. The city's been great. The organization's been great. My teammates have been great. It's been a great adjustment for me and my family.
What do you like most about the city?
It's a desirable place to live. I mean, it's a great football town, and there's a lot to do. When you're not, completely busy with football and stuff like that.
When this thing isn't completely overtaking your life, yeah, sure. With all of that, though, I mean, when you first got to town, Dan Katz at Barstool, there's always the tweet about the nickname. Are you aware of the nickname?
I'm aware of it, yeah.
Okay, so this is something, because I was trying to think about how to delicately approach this, Randy, because it's not something that I feel like a lot of people would appreciate, but it has taken on this personality to the point where I'm seeing Fat Randy jerseys at Titans games.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. More than anything, I'm doing my job. I'm playing at a high level, and I'm helping this team win games, and that's what matters most to me.
But I mean, do you send Dan a tweet and like, hey, what are we doing out here? Like, no, none of the body shaming. Like, let's get a better nickname than that.
To be honest, I don't really get into all that. I'm here to do a job, and social media. It really doesn't matter to me. So it's fun to be out here and continuing going into my 11th year of my career and having a blast doing it.
What's changed for you over 11 years?
Honestly, I think it's a mental mindset. You have a routine, you know how to prepare. I think that's the hardest part for young guys coming in. It is a long season, regardless of what position you play. The time you put in the training room, weight room, stuff like that to maintain your strength without hitting a wall halfway through the season or so, because it's obviously the college game is so much shorter than the NFL season.
Titans kicker Randy Bullock hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So for the audience who doesn't get the opportunity, obviously preseason games are coming up, and that's exciting for everybody. The first one, the Hall of Fame game tonight, Jags and Raiders in Canton. But for the audience who hasn't really gotten to see like the returner competition out here and maybe the different players who are competing for a spot on kick return and on punt return, what have you noticed about that group? Has anybody stood out to you?
Man, there's a lot of good young guys. That's what's been fun is watching these young guys come in and compete. I don't think anything's been solidified yet. A lot of it's going to be practice, and you got to incorporate the games into a large part of the evaluation process as well. So it'll be fun for us as players to watch everything kind of fall into place also.
So as a part of your prep, like I've talked to Kern a million times about like how much he studies the weather, and it's not. I mean, of course, it makes only the most sense that would be a part of your preparation, but are you as into it as he is? Because when we used to be able to walk in the locker room, and it sounds like it's going to get back to that once the regular season begins for everybody. You just walk in and see Brett working with all these charts and meteorology tools and things like that.
Yeah, it really impacts the kicking game. For the specialists in general, the kickers, punters, and returners. So you definitely watch it throughout the course of the week. You get out there early before you're actually kicking and everything, kind of get a feel for how the wind moves in the stadium, how it moves the ball at different distances and stuff like that. You're picking your targets and you're aiming points when you're kind of in the line of fire.
So as far as the operation of field goal and extra point right now, what is the thing? Do you talk through with the guys on that unit after a rep, or how does that process kind of work for you as you try to refine what the operation looks like?
So there's actually constant communication between me and Brett, kind of whether it's the lean of the ball or whatever, depending on the wind, the distance, and our aiming points. So we'll kind of talk with that as we're out on the field, kind of in the chaos of all of it. But it's a real calm process. Brett's really good at what he does. That's kind of some of the things we're trying to talk Ryan with also, is kind of help him understand everything that kind of goes into it as well. Kind of young and naive, but he's really embracing all of it, and he's having a blast and having a good camp also.
Where does that naivete show up when you're going through it? Is there, what specifically have you guys had to coach him up on? Ryan Stonehouse.
Stonehouse out of Colorado State.
The undrafted rookie free agent punter is who we're talking about.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just kind of talking through it situationally because the games are so tight and knowing what to do and when to do it and do it calmly and effectively more than anything. You know, at college games, you know, there might be a team that's just flat out better and more talented and all that stuff. And, you know, we're in a league where anybody can beat anybody in a given day. So it's a really interesting business.
Titans kicker Randy Bullock hanging out with us here. Training camp has just concluded for the day. You went to Texas A&M. The whole situation in the SEC has been fun to watch this year. Have you been following the way that Texas A&M has been covered throughout the course of the offseason? Because it seems like they've garnered a lot of headlines.
I have. You know, I'm really proud of my alma mater. Texas A&M was some of the best years of my life. I'm really proud of the program that they've built, what Jimbo Fisher's done, and there's a national relevance now that hadn't been there for a little bit, and it's really fun to watch. They're a dominant program.
Do you enjoy the idea of being big brother to Texas when they join the SEC? Because right now they're the more competitive football program.
Nothing makes me happier than watching that.
Wait, can we get? Have you done the horns down thing yet?
yeah. Apparently we're not allowed to do that anymore. It kind of kind of upset. Yeah, Texas and
what, they sent out a memo. What happened?
I think OU and Texas and A&M all kind of. It was a bittersweet thing for Texas. They're a bit of prima donnas sometimes.
I don't want to have this be some kind of like retroactive Big 12 fine and have Randy give a horns down to the camera.
Who are the Longhorns on the roster?
Jeff Swain's one of them.
Jeff played at Texas. That might be the one. I don't think that there's another Texas player. There might not have been, at least while I've been here. A lot of Aggies, handful of Aggies, but no Longhorns.
Historically, there's always been Longhorns on Vaccaro and Vince Young and Michael Griffin. So it's surprising to just see Jeff Swain. I think you're right.
Vince Young, but anyway. So now Texas A&M, just as they are the superior football program, they are the dominant presence here on the Titans roster. Randy, I appreciate you hanging out, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for stopping by. That's Titans kicker Randy Bullock hanging out with us on 104.5 The Zone. You will hear from Mike Vrabel and Kevin Byard at the podium here in just a second. Buck Rising here with you live from training camp. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Buck, Superbook.
Sports Park. This is the Buck Rising Show on 104.5 The Zone. Buck Rising has gone over to the podium where head coach Mike Vrabel is about to speak to media. Lucas Panzica, Will Bowling with you on this Thursday. Brett Batchelor making things happen back at the studio. Fans filing out of here. Active duty military from Fort Campbell in the house. Their families, about 100 soldiers represented here today, and several nonprofit leaders from the Middle Tennessee community as well. So really cool to see the Titans do that today at training camp. So Will Bowling hanging out with us as we wait for Mike Vrabel to step up to the podium. What's up, Will?
What's going on? How are you?
Good. So a few developments today in team drills. We talked a little bit about the play of Malik Willis being thrown into the fire a little bit. Ryan Tannehill's first interception of training camp, a miscommunication with Austin Hooper, and Kevin Byard reads it well. But we have not talked about rookie wide receiver Kyle Phillips. A talking point for him was really impressive in individual drills, especially against backup defensive backs. Well, he gets a few reps with the ones today. What'd you notice?
And he was really good. Red zone 7-on-7, one of the first reps we saw him get against the ones was against Caleb Farley. Beat him over the middle. The throw was a little bit low, was unable to make the catch about 2 yards into the end zone. But that was a good start for him. And that's kind of been the storyline, Lucas, for all of these rookies, is taking what they have done, taking the success in one-on-ones into those team periods. And I think Phillips did the best job of that. Had a couple of catches from Ryan Tannehill, specifically one that was in 2 minutes at the end of practice over the middle of the field, finding some space in between the defensive backs and making a really good play. And Ryan Tannehill's talked about that, saying, look, I haven't really had a lot of time with Kyle to get to work with him in those 11-on-11s, in the 7-on-7 drills. So I thought that was a good next step for him. 1 week into training camp, a sensible time to get him a little bit more acclimated against the ones, and he was able to do that.
See if we hear from Mike Vrabel about rookie Kyle Phillips. The head coach is at the podium here at St. Thomas Sports Park.
A lot more reps recently. What have you seen from him?
Mics are off.
Those spots in first team reps.
I mean, he's tried to get open. He's made some big plays for us. I think his understanding of what we're asking him to do has really improved, and his comfort level there.
Is this about Kyle? I hope it is. That'd be perfect.
Really, just once we can try to get some of these guys to understand where they fit and how we want them to do it, or just what's asked of them or required of them, then you start to see a lot of growth. And Racy has done that on offense, and hopefully can continue to do that.
Was talking about Haskins' ability to get up to a good rate of speed at the handoff, at the line of scrimmage. For a guy that's not a blazer, how attractive a quality is that? Did that catch your eye as you were studying?
Well, I mean, there's a good run style there. He runs behind his pads. He's got some play strength, some versatility. Probably caught the ball or ran routes better in the spring. We still have to see that here a little bit when we ask him to do that. But, just having been our third day in pads, for some of these backs, that's critical, and that work's going to be important in the preseason work. And, I think everybody's ability to get to where they're, get to a certain speed, especially at running back, but also be able to make the cuts that, are going to be needed. You just really can't predict where the hole's going to be, and that's important so that, they're not stutter stepping or, sitting there dancing. So, we're going to keep working with all those guys.
How did Shad Weaver look coming back off the injury during the first week or so of camp?
Good. I thought he probably had his best day, his most, active day, in that call it, which would be pretty similar to how he was last year. I think you watched, we'd work on some things in practice, and then he'd, get to the games and really just show up and be productive and get noticed. And I think that probably is trending in the same direction. But I would say that he's improved. He's an improved player, and he's trying to, not only grasp the defense and what's, getting better there, but also on special teams, because he knows how important that is for those guys that aren't starters at outside linebacker or any position really to be proficient in special teams.
What's Torrey Carter done to go from practice squad guy to your clear-cut fullback in a year's time here?
Well, I think we all really like his play demeanor, his physicality. It's straight ahead, no fair dodging, and he brings a presence to our offense and to our run game, as well as special teams. So he's a physical player by nature.
You got on the offense at one point for not running to somebody who scored a touchdown and celebrating. How important
Yeah, they're hard to come by. I mean, I think it's hard to score in this league. So just a reminder that we're going to celebrate touchdowns with the teammates. That's the easiest way to avoid, taunting is go celebrate with teammates. And if there's teammates around to celebrate with, then that's a good thing. So, we're just working some conditioning, and, those guys we're asking them to finish in the end zone. And then, the guy scored on the other side, and they were like, I wish I knew he was going to score because I probably would have headed in that direction. But, we were just trying to get some conditioning out of here, which I thought was really good, getting those guys, running to the end zone.
You mentioned last week just seeing the line, obviously, in pads. You see a lot more there. What have you seen with 3 days in pads?
Well, I mean, I see improvement. I see, defensive linemen that are playing with the techniques that we're asking them to play with in the run game, transitioning, in first and second down. And then, third down sometimes comes to working together, knowing where you're supposed to be. And offensively, I think that there's been some improvement. Some guys are getting better football shape and, starting to understand and take the drills to the group period and the group period to the team period.
Kyle Phillips has been getting more reps with the ones recently and 11-on-11s, different things like that. Has that always been the plan with him, or is that a result of him earning those reps through his practice?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was, the plan is to come out here and, define a role for yourself and, and help develop a team and build a team. So, there was no plan. We'll see where it goes and see how it looks. There was, some things that he did well today, and there's some mistakes that he made.
What's he been doing well?
Well, I mean, he's a player that gets open. I think he's an instinctive player. I think to play inside, all those guys have to have some level of instinctiveness. What leverage, if it's man, what leverage is it, where I need to break. There's a lot of timing that's involved with the quarterback. It's hard to go at someone and be ready to throw to them and not be where they're supposed to be. So the timing and the understanding is critical because, the pass rush, it's not all 7-on-7. So, getting open quickly, and then when it's zone, being able to be where you're supposed to be in that zone.
Last week you said Aaron Brewer was a $2 tougher than $2 steak.
I bet you've eaten a lot of $2 steaks in your day, Corey.
Plant-based protein now. Your team's got me switched. How do you resist asking him to be a bigger steak? Why do you he's 290, he says he's good there. Why are you good with him there?
Well, I mean, sometimes a 6-ounce fillet is just as good as a 12-ounce fillet. I mean, sometimes it's more tender, and they can cook it right. You probably burn the crap out of a big fillet. So, we just try to monitor where everybody is each and every day. We try to monitor hydration, and whether they can do their job and effectively. That's the most important thing. Some guys are naturally bigger. So right now we're just working with what his skill set is and what his body type is, and we monitor strength. We monitor all those different things, and that's where we're at with this particular player.
Overall, coming in off a day off, were you happy with your team's energy today?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they went out, and I mean, I think it was humid. I think everybody recognizes that, and it's something that we have to be able to push through, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done in a short amount of time. But I thought it was a good start. I mean, 27% of the game is played where we practiced today. It's played in the red zone. It's played in 2 minutes. That's over a quarter of our season is going to be played in the red zone or in 2 minutes. And that's why days like today are so critical. Thank you.
Have a good day.
That is Titans head coach Mike Vrabel at the podium from St. Thomas Sports Park after Titans practice. Hour number 3 of the Buck Rising Show coming up next.
Jason Martin.
Lucas, I'm counting it now.
Well, to say they're winning.
Hour number 3. It's the Buck Rising Show on 104.5 The Zone. We are live from Titans training camp. Just heard from head coach Mike Vrabel, safety Kevin Byard at the podium right now. That's also where Buck Rising is. Lucas Panzica, Will Bowling with you for the moment. We'll go to Byard here in just a moment, Will, but I thought it was interesting hearing him talk about the first interception thrown by Ryan Tannehill so far in training camp was picked off by Kevin Byard, jumping a route as what appeared to be a miscommunication between Tannehill and Austin Hooper. Byard saying not putting a lot of stock into it. And the next question about wide receiver Racey McMath, very complimentary of the second-year player out of LSU. And I'll tell you what, we've been saying his name more often than I thought we would at this point.
Yeah, he's had a couple of really good days. He had the 2 deep balls earlier this week for Ryan Tannehill.
Another one today.
It wasn't able to get the second foot in on the deep ball today.
Okay.
That was officially an incomplete pass, courtesy of the coaches that were on that far sideline and the 2 equipment staff members who were wearing the red caps today as the officials. So McMath had another good day. It is a little bit jarring seeing a guy of his size and speed and thinking this is the 5th or 6th wide receiver on the roster. Because when you look at a guy that's built the way that he is, you think this guy should be wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 just based on the eye test alone. He's getting open a lot more. He made a really good catch today in 7-on-7s over the middle of the field, bobbled it initially, and then was able to haul it in the end zone working on Tennessee rookie Theo Jackson. So Racey McMath, the guy that's continuing to get a lot of buzz from us media types that are walking around at practice every day.
You're talking about a 6'3", 217-pound frame. So you throw in the value that he brings on special teams, it might be tough to keep Racey McMath off of this 53-man roster. Few notes from Mike Vrabel's press conference earlier, also complimentary of Racey McMath. He talked about Kyle Phillips a little bit, getting those first-team reps today. Didn't put a ton of stock into it. Said there's a lot of things that he does very well, getting open. He's very instinctive. And the steak conversation continues around Aaron Brewer. Mike Vrabel just diving deeper and deeper into that metaphor about the left guard being tougher than a $2 steak, saying, hey, 6 ounces just as good as 12 ounces sometimes when you're talking about Brewer as an undersized offensive lineman. I love that we're continuing to lean deeper into that analogy. I hope the questions don't stop about Aaron Brewer and steaks.
Yeah, let's just continue the steak talk. I want to learn more about what kind of steak Mike Vrabel likes, how he likes it made. But, look, how about Corey Curtis kind of just catching a body right there? I mean, my goodness.
Said
Mike
you've had
Vrabel,
a lot of $2 steaks, haven't you, Corey?
That was tough. And then he came back with, you've probably burned your fair share of steaks in your day. Like, my Lord, Mike, he has a family.
Corey with a good rebuttal, though, about plant-based. He's going all plant-based now. Kevin Byard is still speaking to the media. Let's check in with the Titans veteran safety here on 104.5 The Zone.
Making some of those big plays and kind of grabbing some.
Mics are off.
I've talked about it to some of the young guys. When you're going into your second year as a player, rookie year, you come into training camp, you kind of had, you're carrying pads. You're in the lunchroom thinking about what song I'm going to sing in front of the team. It's just like a different type of pressure when you're as a rookie. But coming into your second year, just kind of like a breath of fresh air. I kind of understand what coach is looking for. You can kind of answer questions in the meeting room before the coach even asks you. So just that confidence level is there. And I think he just understands what position he's in. He's trying to come out here and create a role for himself. And I think he's doing a great job. As long as he continues to stack days, he'll have a role for us. He'll have a role for himself on this team.
Craziest thing anybody asks you to do as a rookie, and do you ask rookies to do anything special for you?
What's the craziest thing I've ever asked as a rookie? Nothing crazy. I mean, I used to have guys ask for, like, Popeyes on the plane, so I used to hear them and try to go get dressed real fast and run to Popeyes. I'm scared of being late on the plane. Denora Search used to have me go get, like, little Jolly Ranchers from the gas station or whatever. Nothing too crazy. I honestly don't ask a lot from the rookies, at least outside of the building, other than getting the snacks, because I haven't been eating any snacks, so I don't really ask them for a lot. But trust me, I will eventually. When I figure out something, might tell them to go get my dry cleaning or something like that. We'll see.
You were like, I'm not eating snacks. I'm trying to stay away from all the burgers.
Yeah,
Were you sticking to it?
I've been doing really, really good, honestly. Doing really, really good. I have my cheat meals every now and again. Like, I might have, like, some beef or something, because I haven't really been eating a lot of beef. I might have some beef for lunch or something like that, but I honestly been doing very good. I have my cutoff time at 7 o'clock at night, and I may just drink some tea to finish the night off. So I've been doing really good. I feel good. But honestly, if we have a little off day coming up, I think me and my lady might go out to dinner, might, get some good appetizers. Yeah. Set.
You gonna watch a preseason game tonight, KB? Very first one.
Yeah, I'll check. If we got some time, obviously it's probably gonna be in the locker room. Probably gonna be here. I'll be able to check out some of the stuff. I know, probably most of the starters not gonna play, but I'll be able to check out because I kind of just like watching different situations in games, try to stay locked in on stuff like that. So I'll check in on it.
That is Titan safety Kevin Byard meeting with the media at the podium after practice today at St. Thomas Sports Park. So Lucas Panzica, Will Bowling with you today. Which Titans rookie is Kevin Byard most likely to ask to go pick up his dry cleaning? Who would you have your money on?
I would guess Roger McCreary.
Yeah.
A little bit of a smaller guy, a defensive back, so a guy that's going to share the room with him, the locker room with him. Also a guy that's going to share the field with Kevin Byard the most, so perhaps not as likely to pick Theo Jackson.
Hey, there's a surprising
or
announcement going
any
on.
of these other defensive backs, but the guy that is on the field might be the one.
Let's go back to the podium. There apparently is a surprise announcement going on here at Titans training camp. We go back to the podium on 104.5 The Zone.
No question you've made a tremendous impact, both off the field and certainly during your playing days. You have been absolutely outstanding, not only as a Blue Raider, but also as a Tennessee Titans. And in recognition of this incredible career that you have had, both at MTSU and at the Titans so far, and your sustained excellence, and I really want to emphasize sustained excellence as a player and as a role model, I am happy as the university president to announce that your MTSU number 20 will become the second number to be retired in the history of the university. And actually, it is only the sixth in the 111 years history of our athletic department. So on Friday, September 30th, we want to welcome you back home for our game against the University of Texas, San Antonio, when we will properly celebrate this incredible honor and unveil your retired number at Floyd Stadium. So congratulations, and I want you to know that we all are very, very proud of you. You represent us well, and you represent this state well. I really appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh man, wasn't prepared for that. But this jersey is fire. Love it. What an honor. What an honor. Honestly, just kind of going back to those days at MTSU. Honestly, going back to those recruiting days when Coach Stock came into that gym and kept it real with me. Obviously, most guys know my story about the whole Kentucky deal and told me, listen, if that school does not come through for you, come play ball for me at MT. And that just always stuck with me. And I always appreciated the mentor, the father role that you've always played in my life. Listen, I've played with a lot of great players at MTSU, a lot of great coaches, and obviously I couldn't have done it on my own. A lot of people I want to be able to thank. I can't think of everybody right now, but all the coaches, players, staff, trainers, people in our Student Enhancement Center that helped me graduate and all those things, man, I'm just honored. Definitely, I'm almost at a loss of words, but I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful. I know my mother would be very proud of me in this moment right now. And so, like I said, man, just thank you. Thank you, McPhee. Thank you, Massaro. Thank you, everybody. And like I said, man, just a great honor. Thank you.
It's not like it's not like the Yankees. It's not like there are 14 of them up there. That's right.
Like I said, man, I'm really at a loss of words. I've been in that Hall of Fame Alumni Center, and I've seen all the great players that played in the league, the numbers. So like I said, man, I'm just completely honored, man. Honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say that I knew this was going to happen or anything like that, especially coming out of college, coming out of high school. I just always kept my head in and worked my butt off. And that would just be something that I would just preach to anybody. At the end of the day, success, without hard work, you can't have any success. And all I did was just try to work my butt off, try to set a good example for guys under me, for anybody. Just try to set a great example. And I'm here, and I still have my head down. I'm not sitting here trying to say that I made it because I got my jersey retired. But at the end of the day, this is a great honor. And I'm just so appreciative of this moment, appreciative of MTSU and McPhee for doing this for me. It's incredible, honestly.
All right.
Thank you.
That is Titan safety Kevin Byard getting caught off guard. Sidney McPhee in the house, the president of Middle Tennessee State University, to surprise the Titan safety. That is number 20, his college number, only the second number retired in MTSU history. If you're just joining us on 104.5 The Zone, Lucas Panzica, Will Bowling with you live from Titans training camp. So a cool little surprise for KB after practice today.
Really, really cool. It's really awesome when your players and your leaders represent and enjoy the city and community they're a part of as much as the fans do. And Kevin Byard, for a long time, based on his playing days at MTSU, being the mayor of Murfreesboro for the Tennessee Titans, it's been really cool to watch how he's been able to embrace this community through his college career and now through his NFL career as a Tennessee Titan. So no better guy to get it. Happy for him and excited for MTSU fans now to get to further claim one of the best Titans of this era, and Kevin Byard as a number retiree on September 30th this year.
Special moment for KB. He was talking at the start of camp about losing his mother this offseason and the impact that had on him, doing everything for her. So what a cool moment there as he is surprised with that announcement that his college number will be retired at MTSU. Looking at his college numbers here, his final year at MTSU in 2015, KB had 4 interceptions, 66 total tackles. But how about his 2013 numbers? As a sophomore, MTSU's first ever year in Conference USA when they moved from the Sun Belt, 106 total tackles, 5 interceptions. He had 19 picks throughout his college career, 318 career tackles at MTSU, 6 TFLs in that time, 15 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles in his 4-year career with the Blue Raiders. It is a special moment because you just don't get to see it that often. Like the Titans didn't draft Kevin Byard because he was local. They drafted him because there was a need there and because of that skill set and the production as a safety at MTSU. He just happened to be in the neighborhood, and he does so much for that community, and you're able to have situations like this where Sidney McPhee can step up to the podium at a press conference. This wouldn't have happened if KB was a San Francisco 49er or a Philadelphia Eagle or a Jacksonville Jaguar. So a special moment there for Byard.
And I think when you think of the best draft picks by the Tennessee Titans organization in the last decade, it's Derrick Henry and it's Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
And then it's everybody else. Those two guys, John Robinson guys, who have obviously been here. They've overperformed the expectations put upon them when they were picked. And Kevin Byard has become such a terrific ambassador for Middle Tennessee, for Murfreesboro, for MTSU, but for the Tennessee Titans within the National Football League. So really pleased to see him get recognized like that.
In the Zone TV chat, where you can hang out with us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. 104.5 The Zone TV. Tighten Up Dracarys says, well-deserved mayor of Murfreesboro. Cousin Andrew saying, hell yeah, to Kevin Byard as he is surprised with an announcement of his jersey retirement here out at Titans training camp. Coming up next, No Flags Film. Joshua Foster of No Flags Film will join the show via Zoom if Buck Rising is able to, James Foster of No Flags Film, recently announced as a part of the A to Z team, will join the show if Buck Rising is able to make his way over from the podium.
James Foster, a fellow 2015 Brentwood Academy graduate with myself.
Okay.
Love that guy.
You have any classes together?
We did. We had a lot of, I want to say we had AP Literature together senior year. We had a lot of AP English classes together junior, senior year.
Would you get your number retired at Brentwood Academy? Do they get
my number?
You get numbers in track?
No, you don't. You
Okay.
get a bib that's a different number every single time. And we would go to this one meet in Louisville where all these Kentucky schools would have numbers. And we would have, you can tell I'm really bitter about this. Oh, I wanted a number really badly. We always talked about it like we'd go on runs in the state of Kentucky and be like, what number would we pick? Like I would have been number 5 probably because I grew up idolizing Chris Lofton and for no other reason. But unfortunately, no. I did not also meet the threshold of getting my number retired as a Brentwood Academy cross-country runner. It's okay, though.
Cool moment here at Titans training camp as safety Kevin Byard is surprised with the announcement that his number 20 is going to be retired at MTSU. No Flags Film coming up next as the Buck Rising Show is live from Titans training camp on 104.5 The Zone. Heating and cooling. Visit springhillac.com. And we
That
are
is
back
not at all what I expected.
live from Titans training camp. Brett Batchelor making it happen behind the scenes. Lucas Panzica with you. Will Bowling alongside me as we wait for Buck Rising to get back from the podium, where we just saw Titan safety Kevin Byard be surprised with an announcement. MTSU President Sidney McPhee in the house, as well as head football coach Rick Stockstill, to let KB know that his number 20, his college number, will be only the second number ever retired in MTSU football history. Cool moment there for the veteran Titan safety, a staple in this community, an incredibly productive player during his time in Murfreesboro. And cool to see him surprised by that, caught off guard a little bit here after practice. Our next guest is the newest member of the team at A to Z Sports. He is James Foster of No Flags Film. And Will, I understand that you and James go back quite a bit.
We do, 6th grade through 12th grade here locally at Brentwood Academy. James, what's going on, my man? It's been a minute.
It's like the Paul Rudd meme, you know? Who would have thought?
Not me. I was literally just looking back through my Twitter direct messages with James over the years. And James, I'm happy to report that 8 years ago we were DMing about homework passwords that we needed for some assignment that was due probably at midnight. I think I was sending this to you at 11 p.m. So thank you again, probably for saving me in the 12th grade, 11th grade at that point.
If I hadn't have saved you, you probably wouldn't have gotten into UT. We wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Honestly, it's true. Everyone can thank James and the newest addition to A to Z Sports, or blame him for the fact that I'm here. Who's to say, really? Well, James, tell us about what you're doing with A to Z Sports, man. Really cool to kind of see the work you've been doing over the years and the film analysis you've been able to do. Tell us what people can expect from what you're going to be bringing to the team at A to Z.
Yeah, so basically A to Z Sports and No Flags Film, which is kind of the channel that I've been building over the past year, are combining, and we've created A to Z Film Room, and I'll be covering a lot of Titan stuff and a lot of stuff around the NFL, really trying to give people film analysis and insight into the strategy and the X's and O's that are going on that you maybe don't get access to from the broadcast or from any of the morning football shows, just because they don't go that in depth. And so just, trying to give people manageable bite-size 5-minute videos that help explain why their team, can't stop anyone on third down, for example.
And it is really, really cool because there's so much content. There's so much noise out there. People like us that cover this team, something like this going a little bit deeper, something that not everybody's doing and breaking down the film on specific players and specific teams. I know you got the chance to review Kevin Byard. We just heard him officially getting his jersey retired at MTSU. Kind of give us a summary of this first piece that you've done for A to Z, talking about Kevin Byard and specifically what makes him special.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great athletes at the safety position, and Kevin Byard is certainly one of them. But what makes Kevin Byard really stand out, and I think makes him the best safety in the league, in my opinion, is the mental aspect of the game and how committed he is to film study and communication within the defense. And in the Kevin Byard video that I just released, basically broke down, if you're a Titans fan, you probably remember the pick 6 by Kevin Byard against the Rams. And basically, the Rams had run that play about 8 times previously. I think the interception was in week 9, and 8 or 9 times before they had run the exact same play from the exact same formation. And that's the sort of thing where someone like Kevin Byard, who takes his job seriously and prepares throughout the week, he sees that on film. And then when he sees the exact same formation, he's able to get 6 points for his team off of that. And so that's just really trying to show the true value of film study from the perspective of a defensive back.
James Foster with us on 104.5 The Zone, at No Flags Film on Twitter, the newest teammate of A to Z Sports as a film specialist. So, James, we had Titan safety Amani Hooker on the show a few days ago. He talked about taking another step as a leader coming into this season. But with KB's jump in production from 2020 to last year with 2021, how much of that do you attribute to what Amani Hooker did within the Titans defense?
Yeah, I think in 2021, you really saw the Titans finally getting comfortable in really the second year of a new defense. And I think they had more appropriate personnel for the defense that they were running. Back when Dean Pease was defensive coordinator, if you turn on the film from any Titans game, you're going to see one single safety, and it's going to look like he's 15 to 20 yards deep, and they're just playing press man. Last year, they ran a lot of split safety, a lot of two high. So you've got Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard back there, and they're playing left safety and right safety. The Titans really don't do like strong safety, free safety, and so their roles are pretty interchangeable. And it's just so valuable, like the upgrade from Kenny Vaccaro to Amani Hooker, because now they have two safeties that are good in run defense, that are good in man coverage, that are good in zone coverage, that know where they're supposed to be, and that are playmakers. And so that really contributed, I think, to the uptick in defensive production last year.
James Foster, formerly, the artist formerly known as No Flags Film, now currently the A to Z Sports Film Room, here with us on 104.5 The Zone, breaking it down. James, I appreciate the patience. It's good to have you as a teammate, brother.
Good to have a fellow Hoosier in the house.
Indeed.
Oh,
yes.
Really? Oh, yes.
James is often tweeting me about Indiana basketball recruiting. That's what I imagine your personal life is like when we're not talking about things on the air. Yes, James is aligned with me in suffering, I think, as an Indiana athletics fan. James, go ahead.
I grew up in Indiana and a Tennessee fan, so I'm basically fans of the two biggest has-been programs in the country, unfortunately. But
I remember talking to you.
Next year, both of them are going to win.
James, I remember talking to you, too, during that Tennessee-Indiana Tax Slayer Bowl. I think that was one of the last times we'd connected on Twitter or something and having the conversation of, like, I feel so conflicted in this moment of I don't know how to feel at that time.
Yeah, I was basically just rooting for whoever was losing, and there were a lot of lead changes in that game.
There were.
So
nip snap.
James, with the new endeavor and working with A to Z Sports, what are you hoping to provide football fans who may be familiar with what you've done specifically on Twitter, but now branching out in a larger digital platform?
Yeah, I just think that there is there's a complete separate layer to the entire game of football that just doesn't really get covered with as much depth as I think people would like to see. People are really interested in the strategies and the game plan that go behind every specific call, and they want to know why a team like. For example, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of tweets during the game about why are the Titans playing their corners 7 yards off the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 5?
Yes.
And it's like, well, if you're playing sticks coverage, which means you're protecting the third down line, you want to line up a couple yards off of there because you need to provide yourself some cushion. So that's just one example of, all the questions that I think people have and people want to know, and they want to become more informed watchers of football. And so that's what we're really trying to provide for football fans with A to Z Film Room.
Now, do you find that you get more questions about how far the corners are playing off, or why's Bud Dupree and Harold Landry drop into coverage and zone exchange blitzes?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think
because that's an actual thing that people complain about, except they don't call it zone exchange. They scream about Shane Bowen dropping the linebackers into coverage.
People love when a fire zone blitz results in a sack, but then they hate when they see an edge rusher dropping into coverage. I think the Harold Landry one is probably a more common thing that I get recently, at least.
So in talking about the way that you watch, and it's not just Titans that you'll be breaking down for the A to Z Sports Film Room, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'll be doing about 2 to 3 videos on the Titans per week, and then 5 to 6 videos on other teams that A to Z Sports covers.
Yes, because it was announced this morning on the A to Z Sports Morning program with Austin Stanley and Zach Bingham that the A to Z Sports Network would again be expanding. 13 total NFL markets that we're in, and James and the A to Z Sports Film Room are a big part of that. Wait, have you changed your Twitter handle yet, or what am I promoting for you?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to rebrand my Twitter, but my Twitter account is @NoFlagsFilm, and I think I'm just going to keep it that way. But James Foster on Twitter, check me out there, and then make sure to subscribe on A to Z Sports Film Room.
Now wait, are you not changing it because you have a check mark that you're afraid to lose? Because I refuse to do anything to my Twitter handle that may cost me my check mark.
I don't have a check mark, so I'm vulnerable to to false tweets.
He's so if you see any burners out there, it's not the
If
real.
you ever see a bad take by No Flags Film, assume it was a fake account.
At Buck Rising is where you can go for all of your bad takes as far as the criticism that is often levied against me by our own group around here. Lucas is quick to point out the bad opinions that I have, so I'll just take credit for your bad ones too, James. What do you like most about what the Titans do defensively? I was doing a podcast yesterday with Greg Cosell, and we were talking about the way that they specifically game plan for Josh Allen, given that he's on the schedule, given that this is a player who the Titans defense has seen a couple of times. You look for tendencies. You look for the way that coaches coach against other coaches, and kind of going back to the zone exchange blitzes for people who may not be familiar. That's where you have the normal alignment, what may look like your base defense, but as opposed to sending your 4 front guys, you may send David Long when you see him come in on a pressure. It's not a blitz, it's just a zone exchange pressure using David Long instead of Harold Landry or Elijah Molden instead of Bud Dupree. That was something that I thought they had great effect with. Josh Allen got his numbers. He's hard to stop, but in keeping him from rolling to his right, where we have seen him make spectacular plays, and in making him think just a second longer at the time of the snap, those zone exchange pressures seem to be a really effective way to game plan against a player like that. Is there a game plan that you have studied, that you have watched, that really made you think, okay, I like what the Titans are doing here defensively?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind with Mike Vrabel, and who, I kind of view Mike Vrabel as the philosophical leader of what their defensive scheme is going to be, regardless of who the defensive coordinator is. But he's very adaptable. You mentioned the Bills game. They were playing a lot of man coverage, and then I believe it was Caleb Farley goes down with an ACL in the first quarter, and then I think Chris Jackson got injured. They got to a point where they were playing bottom of the roster guys out in man coverage, and then they just completely switched and played zone coverage for the last 3 quarters, didn't play a single snap of man coverage. And so, that's an example of Mike Vrabel and Shane Bowen understanding their personnel and being like, okay, if we have Greg Maben out here on Stephon Diggs, we can't get away with playing man. We got to just play cover 2 or something. I think the Chiefs game is another great example. They did a lot of disguising their coverages, and I have a video on my YouTube channel breaking that down specifically, but you line up with 2 safeties deep, but then you're actually playing a single high defense, and it just causes the quarterback to have that extra second where they have to think and process as far as what their reads are.
James Foster, A to Z Sports Film Room, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So in keeping with the safety study that I know you're working on right now, I talked to Scott Booker, their coach, their position coach, the safeties coach today, kind of about some of the depth that they had on the roster, and also how often they deploy the 3 safety looks that I think give them so much success. Kevin Byard, we just did a press conference with him, James, and I think it was Corey Curtis at Channel 2 or News 2 asked him about, Crookshank last year was the quote-unquote secret weapon. He was the tight end killer. He was the player that they could deploy in those certain packages and those defensive looks that gave them a legitimate matchup advantage. But it seems to me with the versatility of the collection of players that they have now that those 3 safety looks would still work to their advantage in certain situations.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, how they deploy their defensive personnel, that's the biggest question that I have heading into the season. Once Elijah Molden gets healthy, I'm really interested to see whether they kind of convert him into more of a safety or star type of role, or if they just keep him as like a backup slot corner, because I expect Roger McCreary to, not give that starting job back. The thing, I think Dane Cruikshank's role is a little bit misunderstood because it's a very important role for when they would go into dime personnel, but it's not necessarily a skill set that's hard to replace. You just need to have long arms and be fast and be able to line up on a tight end and versus a 3-by-1 set and just press them at the line of scrimmage, get them off their route and disrupt them. Because within 5 yards, there's a lot more leeway as far as what you can do. And so I think Theo Jackson could fit into that role once he kind of gets more acclimated and comfortable. But yeah, they've invested a ton in the defensive backfield, into the defensive backfield. So I'm sure we're going to see a ton of different combinations.
See, I'm glad you brought up Molden and McCreary because I am inclined to agree with you that Roger would be difficult to unseat at this point. But here's the thing that kind of jumps out to me, James, and you can speak to the importance of this. He didn't blitz in college. They didn't send him on pressures in college. That was something Elijah Molden did do at Washington. Now, it's not to say that it's not something that he can't learn, but given how often the slot corner or in nickel and dime, how often you're going to be around the line of scrimmage, I would think that it would still work to Molden's advantage that he understands how to adequately or properly time those pressures to make sure that you see the plays like you did in the preseason against Tampa Bay where he splits two offensive linemen and comes screaming up the middle for a sack. Like, those are the kind of things that I would think, while Elijah Molden again missed practice today, and that would make, I think, every day since Friday when he left during practice in the bubble, I would say that would still give Molden in the coaching staff's eyes an edge on retaining his role.
Well, that's a good point that you bring up. And another thing to kind of add to it would be run defense. Elijah Molden's a really good run defender. And tackling is kind of Roger McCreary's really the only weakness in his game from college. There's obviously weaknesses when you project to the NFL in terms of athletic profile, but just in terms of skill set, that's really the only area that he struggled at all. And so if I expect the Titans to be playing a lot lighter personnel this year, given I don't think they want Zach Cunningham on the field in passing situations. And so I could see a lot more dime with just David Long as the single linebacker. And if you're going into lighter personnel, you're going to need those DBs to be able to kind of make up for that in run defense and, pass rush and blitz and all that kind of stuff.
Expand on that Cunningham thing, because people have tried to burn me at the stake, James, for saying that I don't believe I think that is a good starting linebacker, inside linebacker combination, Cunningham and Long. But I think that people are quick to not notice Zach Cunningham's inability in coverage. Like, if you can get enough out of him on first and second down, I think you feel pretty good about the kind of packages, the kind of lighter defensive personnel that you've just described. But I think that people kind of gloss over where Cunningham's flaws are just because they were so excited to have somebody who's not, respectfully to Rashaan Evans, a bit of a dope on the field.
Well, Mike Vrabel, if you need anyone to verify your opinion that Zach Cunningham isn't great in coverage, it's Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel played Zach Cunningham on one third down passing play last year.
Ooh.
He played 5 games and played one third down passing snap. And, so I credit to the Titans coaching staff for recognizing that he's not a good cover linebacker, but he is I would say the way he was playing, borderline elite run defending linebacker. And so put him on the field first and second down and then take him off and either go and dime with David Long as the one linebacker or go and nickel. I think Monty Rice is capable of being the nickel backer as well.
What did you just sticking with this, and then we'll wrap up. James Foster, our guest at No Flags Film, is where you can follow him on Twitter. His YouTube channel, the A to Z Sports Film Room, has so many great videos for you to see the kind of defenses and the kind of play breakdowns that James is articulating so well here with us on the air. Rice, I talked to Bobby King about the inside linebacking depth today. I've seen Dylan Cole taking way too many starting defensive snaps. I know it's training camp, but it gives me anxiety. Rice, though, as he works his way back from the Achilles, still on the PUP list. It seems like they really like the explosiveness as a part of what Monty's skill set gives them.
Yeah, he's kind of like a combination of David Long and like Rashaan Evans in a way. That might be kind of hard to picture, but he is a little bit undersized, but he kind of has that heat-seeking missile type of play style. He's a really good cover linebacker. The Georgia obviously had a loaded linebacker room with Nakobe Dean, Channing Tindall, Quay Walker, all guys that got drafted early in the 2022 draft. But when Georgia went into dime personnel, Monty Rice was the one linebacker that they had on the field because they trusted him in pass coverage. And then when you look at the few games that he played last year, he made some mistakes, but he also was around the ball a lot, looked really comfortable, dropping into zone coverage. And so I think if he can get a similar second-year boost that we've seen a lot of these players have, then they could have a pretty good, we talk about the linebacker duo, but I think they could have a pretty good linebacker trio.
What's the I know Luke and Will open the segment with you. Lucas and Will open the segment with you talking about the work that you're doing right now, or the next video that people can expect. But go ahead and plug it again for those following along, or who can follow along on the A to Z Sports Film Room channel on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, so we dropped Kevin Byard and Kevin Byard breakdown, and then a video where I broke down all 11 of Trayvon Diggs' interceptions. And then we're going to have a video on Joe Burrow and the Chiefs, 5 underrated players on the Chiefs coming out tomorrow. And then 7 to 8 videos per week starting next week. And make sure to subscribe, and really excited to bring you guys all the content that we've been working on.
Do you wear blue light glasses while you do this? I can't. That's my least favorite part of watching Game Pass. It's just more screen time.
I use an app called No Free Shoutouts, but Flux, where it just like makes the screen kind of yellow.
He said Flux, ladies and gentlemen, with an L. Flux.
I am available to be sponsored by Flux, I think.
All right, James. Thanks for stopping by, man. We'll do this again here in the very near future, I imagine. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me on.
That's James Foster, one of the newest parts of the A to Z Sports Digital Network. We're very excited to have James and his X's and O's analysis. I think James should be one of the people that we contract for free labor once football season starts. That was good info.
I think so. That was good info, especially the nugget about Zach Cunningham. 1 third down passing situation as far as one snap. In the 5 games he played in last year. That is revealing.
Well, I don't know, and I did not. I think that's well, we can talk about that on the other side. We got polls to do. We got last call for phone calls. Questions on Titans practice if you got them. We got Will Bowling, Lucas Panzica. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. for Kevin Byard to have his jersey retired over there with Coach Rick Stocks.
That was really cool.
And the the school administrator,
the president,
staff.
Sidney McPhee.
Okay, very nice. I was unfamiliar, but it was very cool of them to do that. So I come back over here, and you guys did. Thank you, by the way, for starting the James Foster interview in the middle of all that. And I think I was ready to end the show on a good note. You had literally just said to me that you felt today had gone smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow will also be good because we have both Coach Dave McGinnis and Caleb Farley, who will sit down with us probably some point in like the middle of everything that we're doing around here. And then you said to me what?
Yeah, and I hate this because we literally put an embargo on A.J. Brown talk yesterday, but I feel we have a responsibility to share what he said today to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero about the Titans trade, saying, quote, it's a business, and I'm not upset about the trade or anything because it is a business or whatever. But to be honest, I just didn't appreciate how it all went down, and they just kind of blamed me for it. I'm man enough to say that, however people may take it. But I have no bad blood with Tennessee. I'm moving forward. I'm happy to be here, but there are a lot of things people don't know about, and they're just pointing fingers at me, but that's okay.
Brett, in honor of our guest tomorrow, I would like to hear Caleb Farley's thoughts on A.J. Brown delivering that message to Tom Pelissero in
I'm searching for it.
In an article published on NFL.com. Let me hear from Caleb Farley, please, and thank you.
Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. We will inform Caleb Farley. We tried to get it going with Randy Bullock today about the nickname and his cult hero lore. He wasn't having it. We'll try it with Caleb Farley tomorrow. In the meantime, polls.
Hello,
Yes.
my name is Borat. There is a show in America called Buck Rising. I like very much.
Very much.
As a man named Lucas, like my producer, Azama Pakatov, will update something called Final Pollings. I'm very excited, very excited. Do it, Lucas. La 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 la.
Quickly, Borat to the club.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. You can custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They deliver it to you when it's manufactured. Who should be the Titans' starting kick returner? Football and other F words. Our buddy Zebo says someone good at it, so not Trenton Cannon.
Is that what you were laughing
Yeah, I was
about,
chuckling at that earlier.
I need to see. I'm looking forward to watching the returners in the preseason game. That is one thing that's going to be notable to see who gets reps there, who gets snaps there. But yes, Zach Lyons has been on this anti-Trenton Cannon campaign, which may all well be fine because they're already going to have 4 backs in some form or fashion, including the fullback. So Trenton Cannon may be the odd man out if they've got Kyle Phillips who can actually do it.
I wonder how Dontrell Hilliard might factor in there.
I would be surprised. That's like saying McNichols would have gotten returner reps, and that was not something that was so in his time here.
Does Jason McCourty get to take both sides? We did not talk about this. 62% say no before the season. He said, I don't see the Titans as contenders. But then he was asked a few days later, hey, who are you feeling the most buzz from in training camp? He said, the Titans.
This McCourty is – I know we're going to have McCourty at some point during the preseason, right? That was something we discussed with the NFL Network?
Yes, we are working on arranging that.
Okay, so we'll ask we'll ask Jason when he joins the show about how it is to exist in media where everybody is paying attention to everything that you said, and video makes it last forever on the internet.
What situation do you want to see the Titans offense improve most on in 2022? Ricky says not turning the ball over. Cosley says less third and longs, better offensive line protection.
Yeah, I think that's all relevant. I think that the offensive line protection is critical. We talked about that yesterday with Greg Cosell.
Why are you watching the Hall of Fame game tonight? Will says because it's football. Bad or not, it's football. I found myself watching the CFL last weekend. Even preseason NFL is better than that.
Yeah, football starts tonight, kids, and then we'll all complain about how bad the football was tomorrow.
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. That's the show. Anything exciting on Blaine and Mickey other than, of course, the excitement of Blaine and Mickey themselves?
They are live at Bridgestone Tower talking to Titans defensive lineman Tier Tart right off the top, and also talking to Graham Rahal, IndyCar Series driver, at 1:15.
Okay, a little Pop-Tart in the middle of your Blaine and Mickey. We're back out here tomorrow. Caleb Farley, the guest. Coach Mack will do it with us as well, and we'll get you out of here on a Friday. In the meantime, enjoy Blaine and Mickey, 3HL after that. Thanks, bud. Okay.
Yeah, he can hear you.